Good morning. So we are back with episode 3 of our live sessions. Remember, this is a weekly English language conversation for you guys, so you can hear some great people, also some good English practice as well. So that's what we're really trying to do this time. And we have a really interesting person today. We have Mahima from the Languaholic, and she's going to give us some great info about a bunch of different things. We'll try and make an interesting conversation with her. So she should be here in a moment. So one of the aims of this live sessions is really to try and get some exposure to different accents as well. So that's been really good. So hopefully we'll have a great opportunity for that today. Mahima, how are you?
Hey, hi Richard, I'm good. You tell me?
I'm good. Everything's going really well. So I wanted to bring you on because you're a very interesting person and you've got a lot of great information about languages as well. So why don't you just tell everybody a bit about yourself and a bit about the languages you've learned?
Okay, so basically, wait, Richard, I think there's some problem with the camera. I can't see myself and you. Is it?
You just pressed something and now I can't see you, but before I could. Okay, that's fine. I see you now.
But I can't see myself. Just a second. I think something is wrong.
That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah, just a second. I think just a second.
No
I'll
problem.
join you.
Okay. Oh, I think she left and she'll come back. Technical problems. It's always difficult. Are you good with technology, everybody? I'm not so good. I can do just about enough to make some videos and do some lives, but that's about it. So, oh, I think she's coming back. Great.
Yeah. Hi, Richard.
Hey, okay, yeah, let's start over. So, Mahima, This is Mahima from the Languaholic. Everyone, you should definitely check out what she's doing because she's doing some great stuff, which we'll explain today. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show is because you've got a lot of great information that you can give to people about learning languages, and also we'll talk about some other things as well. So why don't you introduce yourself, and why don't you talk a little bit about some of the languages you've learned and your story when it comes to that?
Hi everybody. Yeah, so I love languages and I have been a language learner throughout my life, especially after college. I was so interested in learning languages. So I know 4 languages now. So one is Mandarin, English, Hindi and Japanese. So Japanese, I won't say I'm very fluent, but yeah, I'm still learning. So yeah, I feel languages has a way of connecting with different people. You know, when you travel, you can talk to so many other people. So yeah, I think it's very interesting to know so many languages. Yeah.
What was your motivation for learning Mandarin? It's so difficult. You should have picked an easier one.
Yes. One of the most difficult languages, yes. But yeah, my motivation was just to be a little different from what others are doing. So just be different from what, not the whole world is doing. Because after all, if you're doing something different, that would be well paid, have a better edge over others. So yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Definitely can give you a real advantage in the job market, especially nowadays. China is becoming so important in terms of business and world trade. So yeah, good choice. And did you study that at university or did you just learn by yourself? How did you pick that up?
So Richard, initially, whenever you learn a new language, I think for the foundation, you have to have some professional help. Otherwise, you end up learning wrong. So I started with a university, Delhi University itself. And after that, after I started from Delhi University, then I think I was good to go. So 2.5 years, I have studied Mandarin in Delhi University. Yes. Yeah.
And did you find a big difference between what you were learning in the classroom and then how people were actually speaking when you were talking to Chinese people?
Yes, big difference, because in universities you are usually not taught how to communicate unless you speak to native people. I think languages is of no use, so you have to communicate with the native people as well. So in university I was just taught reading and writing, nothing else. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So when you speak quite a few languages like you do, and you're learning quite a few languages, would you have any tips for anybody who's doing that? Because I think a lot of people are trying to do that. They're learning English, but they're also doing another language. Like we said, for the job market, if you can speak that other language as well, it's really good. It's a big advantage for you. Would you have any tips? Do you get confused?
Yes, I would love to give tips, because I think that if you have picked up a language, so the first thing that I would request everybody to do is just immerse yourself in that language. Unless you give your 100% to that language, I think it's useless to do that language. And plus, never, compete with others. Like, for example, I started learning a language with a friend, but my friend left in between, so I am also leaving. So language is actually a personal journey. So if you have chosen a language, you have to keep working hard until and unless you gain fluency in that language. So that's what I feel, Richard. And
Okay.
also, yeah. And also, when you're learning a language, I think it's good to, be culturally connected with people. So you have to travel a lot, know more about the culture, know more about the traditions and whatnot. So yeah, not only language, but many other aspects. Yeah.
I was just going to mention that, because learning a language is also involves almost learning a culture as well, and becoming involved with things.
Yes.
And I know people learning Japanese, and they're really into anime or some other things as well. Could you tell us a little bit about the kind of cultural things you've done with Mandarin and Japanese?
So cultural thing, yes. So Chinese culture, I was very interested, because once I went to China, so there are a lot of things which are very different from my own country. So that's why that attracted me. There was this cultural element that, like, after eating dinner, firstly they have very good, time. For example, at 9 a.m. they have their breakfast. At 12 p.m. they have their lunch, and 6:30 p.m. they have their dinner, their supper ready. And after that, they usually go and have some dancing on the roads in order to, burn the calories that they have consumed. So that's the kind of tradition that I just saw in China, and I was quite interested, like, wow, these things happen in China only. And even when they meet people around, their friends, and also they just go have a drink in their hand, and just go cheers, cheers. Every individual, they go just have cheers. So certain things I really liked. So yeah, that culture has attracted me a lot. So culture, languages, and historical places, the Great Wall of China. I was always excited to see the Great Wall of China. So yes, yeah, that can be one of the reasons.
There's I run marathons, and there's a marathon on the Great Wall of China, and one day I would love to do it. It should be.
Okay.
Was there anything? What are some of the similarities you saw with the Chinese culture and Indian culture, and what are some of the big differences?
So similarities, I feel, Richard, is like not much. Only the thing is that because they are Asians, we are Asians. So I think the similarities are in some cultural part, like they are very family oriented, same as we are. So they usually live with their families. Even after marriage, they usually live with their families around, and they give a lot of priority to their families. Same in India, we give a lot of priority to families. But differences are like obviously the food habits, the eating habits, and the health, the culture, everything is very different. In India, people usually don't take care of their health as much. And in China, they eat all healthy food. They drink so much of green tea all the time, because tea culture has actually originated from China. So they drink so much of tea, and that too, green tea, flower tea, red tea, so many types of tea. So yeah, kind of that. So major differences, I think, the health sector and the music, the industry, they are very much workaholic. They have this 996 rule. You know what is this 996 rule?
No.
So 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. they have to work 6 days a week. But in India, yeah, that is why their GDP is the highest. That is why they work so hard. But in India, it's like you work at 10 a.m. and finish the work at 6 p.m. and have your weekends off.
That's better. I prefer that.
Yeah, even I prefer that. But yeah, it's not good for the economy, actually. Yeah.
Now, we have a lot of people in India learning English as well. It's probably one of the biggest markets for that. In your experience, what are some of the biggest problems that Indian learners of English have? What are some of the big barriers? Every country or every language group, they all have their own specific problems. What do we find with Hindi speakers, for example?
See, the major barrier, Richard, is the pronunciation. They are unable to get the pronunciation of the words because, there's a particular category now of Indian English. So, people who speak English, but that has, a lot of Indianness in that. So, which is not good. If you compare it with the, official standards, it's not good. So, but I still feel that there's a lot of Indianness in that. So, not many people are able to come out of that. They feel
because
that,
there's
yes,
a lot of vocabulary that comes in. Sometimes I watch some of your YouTube videos and you're speaking in Hindi, and then I'll hear a word in English. I say, oh, I know that. I understand what she's talking about.
yeah, so because in India, many people use Hinglish actually. It's a mixture of Hindi and English, so like kind of code switching, so code switching languages and all. So that way, that is why. So I still feel that pronunciation is a major issue in India. Yes,
Okay.
and grammar, vocabulary is other. I mean the other things, but pronunciation, yes, number one.
Great. Very good. And also, I have a lot of students, especially my business students that I teach, and quite a few of them work with people in India because so much has been outsourced from European companies to India. And it's funny because a lot of the times I hear things like, oh, Richard, I understand you really well when you speak. And then I have to call somebody in Bangalore and then it's just impossible. Would you have any tips for anybody who's maybe from France or Germany and they're working with some people from India? Maybe some tips to understand the accents?
Yeah, because Richard, that's the problem actually, because there are different dialects of English. Like if I'm staying in Delhi, so Delhi Heights are actually people who are living in Delhi. We call them Delhi Heights. So they would speak a different kind of English. If I go to South, they have a different dialect. So yes, sometimes even people from the South, they don't understand the gender also, like what to say to a particular gender. So they don't understand the difference between he and she sometimes. So that becomes a problem again. But I would like to suggest that you have to stress more on the words and try to focus more on intonations, because by then I think they can understand more. But yeah, dialect and dialect is different. These things are different, so I think there is no solution to that, because since dialect is different, so there's no option. You have to understand only. You have to stress your mind and understand. But yeah, that's a big problem which needs to be addressed. I understand. Complex. Same with Chinese, Richard, like I went to South China, I could understand some of the Chinese. But when I changed my city, I was like totally blank. Because again, dialect difference. Some people can speak well, but some people have different kind of Chinese. So again, I couldn't speak. So
yeah, I think sometimes in the West, we think of India as just this one homogenous country, kind of like France is or Denmark is, where it's not. There's like, I mean, there's so many languages, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a number?
In India?
Yeah.
I think it's more than 120 vernacular languages. I think more than 100. Yeah.
Right. So it's an incredibly varied country, religiously, culturally, and linguistically as well.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is great about you is your YouTube. It's so interesting. It's so varied. Tell everybody a little bit about what your aim is for your YouTube, what message you're trying to give, and also what viewers can expect. We're going to put the link in the description of the show. So yeah, tell everybody a little bit about your YouTube.
So guys, basically YouTube is just a passion. So I really want people to understand that language, culture, these things are very important. So I just want to, let people know that language can be pursued as a full-time career too. So many people, still think that, it's just a hobby course. You just do it and, just go off and things like that. But I want to tell them that, yes, it's a full-time course also. So they should focus more on, learning it if they are really interested. Plus, it's a high-paying career as well. If you learn, Mandarin or Japanese or English, anything for like 3 years, you can, earn equal to an engineer or a chartered accountant or something. So yeah, that is why. So my aim is because I love languages, for my passion of languages, for my passion of culture. So I just want someday that people would realize and consider me, okay, language girl. So she's the language girl. So, maybe a polyglot kind of a tag, because just now I'm learning so many languages. So maybe I want to be called as a polyglot girl someday. Yeah. And
right. Oh, I'm sure you'll make it if you already speak 4 languages. I'm sure in the future you'll learn a lot more. Yeah. One of the things as well that people can find on your YouTube, you do kind of interesting projects as well. It's not just tips for language learning. I saw you did the Saturday story series where you're telling a story. It's good listening practice. You've also,
Yes.
because we've spoken before, you've also done some things about yoga, is that right? You're trying to show everybody how to do yoga. Are people doing yoga wrong in the rest of the world?
See, yoga is now increasing science that has originated from India, and I
Right.
think people from all over the world are really loving it. So, yoga is one of the examples, yes. And yeah, until unless you have a professional trainer, again, you can't do yoga. Like some people, just open YouTube and try to copy that, but it can have, adverse circumstances on your body also. For example, some of the asana, yoga, actually, the posture of the body is called asana. If it doesn't suit you, so maybe it can lead to a backache or a headache or a stomachache or something like that. Even, major injury as well. So I would suggest that you should have it, under a trainer. Until unless you're a certified trainer, you should not go for yoga. That's what I feel. And yes, it's a good science. Mental and physical fitness is very important in that. So I think, yes, people should follow yoga a lot. And they should not do it without consultation. Yeah.
What are the benefits of yoga? Because I think sometimes in the West we see it as a bit of a feminine activity, and I don't know if any kind of big strong guys are doing yoga. They think it's a bit, it's not really an exercise. But tell everybody, tell those people, what benefits can they get from yoga?
So guys, you can get a lot of benefits. It's not gender restrictive, like guys, girls, everybody, bisexual people, everybody can do it. So it's not any gender, it's gender neutral actually. And yes, so for mental and physical fitness, yoga is very important. So for example, when you get stressed up with work, you have so much work to do, and your boss is probably not appreciating you or something, or maybe you are just an entrepreneur and you're not getting enough revenue. So for a mental peace, yoga is one of the best options. Because as of now, you can't travel to different places because of obvious reasons, because of the virus. But otherwise, I feel yes. So if you're at home, probably wake up in the morning, early morning at 4 a.m. or maybe in the evening if you are not a morning person, you can just try some yoga for mental peace. So it actually, contributes a lot to mental peace. And obviously, you can have fit and healthy body. Yes. Physical fitness too. Yeah.
Well, it's so important at the moment. You just mentioned this virus, and if everybody's a little bit healthier, it seems that that's going to definitely help in terms of fighting against the virus. So that's really good.
Yes.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about visiting India, but before we go into that, I wanted to talk about some, like I said, sometimes in the West, we have this idea that India is just this one country and everyone speaks the same language and everyone does the same things. Are there any preconceptions about India you would like to take this opportunity to explain aren't true, or break those preconceptions?
Oh, yes. So the first preconception which you told is that people think that India is actually India language, that is Hindi. So yes, that's a preconception which has to be broken, because in India it's like more than 120 vernacular languages. That means even within one state there can be 3 or 4 languages. Okay, so that is this. And plus, even if you're speaking one language, for example, English, so once you go down to the south of India, maybe you go up to the north of India or east of India, so again, the dialect of English changes. What you are studying, maybe not what, they are studying. So the accent, the mother tongue is very different. So that's one thing, Richard. And the next thing is that people still think that India is, there's nothing in India, probably technology-wise and, nature-wise. India is a beautiful country if you come here to see the nature, the beaches, the mountains, and, the places, the relaxing places. There is so much to see in India. You can have a very economical trip, have a budgeted trip. For example, you don't want to spend so much money on that. Probably you have so many good options. Go travel to beautiful places with just, less money in hand. And so geographically, it's beautiful. And even the people in India, like a lot of engineers, a lot of IAS officers, so many people. Education-wise, yes, I would say that infrastructure is not that good as of now compared to the Western countries. But yes, still Indians are very good in maths. Mathematics, many people are very good in mathematics. They calculate very quickly. So that's a plus point for India. Yes. That's what I feel.
Mentioning that India is quite cheap to visit, I can definitely attest to that, because I went to India years ago for about 6 weeks and traveled all around India. And I think I spent less money during those 6 weeks than I would if I just stayed in the UK and worked and spent money just living. So definitely a good option if you want to really see somewhere interesting and really save, well, not spend so much money as well. One thing I found about India is if you go, and if you, anyone watching, if you've never been to India, it's a really great place. But the first day you get there, you'll hate it. I can promise you, you'll hate it the first day you get
Yes.
there. It's so loud. It's so hot. There's people everywhere. There's cars
Yes.
everywhere. Now, after a week, or even after a couple of days, it becomes normal and you get used to it. And after 6 weeks, you really love the place. So it's a really interesting, it's a really interesting thing. I also find as well that people are really kind, really friendly, and people want to kind of open up with people and converse with people. So I had a lot of interesting conversations with people in India, especially on the trains. If you travel around on the trains, it's really funny because you'll be on the train and every so often people will come up to you, especially if you're a European, especially if you're on your own, like I was, and people come up to you and they ask the same 10 questions every time, and they go, where are you from? What do you do? Why are you in India? Are you married? What does your father do? What does your mother? So it's these same 10 questions every time, which is interesting. So would you have any tips for anybody visiting India? Because it's such a varied country. I traveled, I went to Mumbai, I went up to Jaipur, went to Chandigarh, I went to Delhi for a few days as well. Then where I went to Agra, Varanasi, Calcutta. So I traveled around quite a lot. Would you have any tips for anybody in terms of places maybe to visit, or just some tips when you're there?
So I feel if they come to India, so I would suggest, Jaipur is one place they should visit because, because of the intricate beauty of the monuments. So, the way the monuments are built is like beautiful to be seen. Same as Taj Mahal, which is, the seven wonders of the world and it's very famous. You shouldn't miss that. And again, if you want some peace, some mental peace, you just go, you want to have your alone time or just want to chill away. So I think that's again a very good option. So maybe Kasol is a good option. Maybe some other things like hill stations, probably Nainital and all these things are very good options. You can go there, have some personal time, have some alone time, and probably, introspect about life. All surrounded by mountains and, sitting alone and, start introspecting. Yeah,
sounds
it's a
like a perfect place to do yoga, right?
Yeah, actually, yes, yoga, yeah.
And tell us a bit about Delhi, because that's your city, you know it well.
Yeah, so Delhi is the capital of India, and Delhi has all the nationalities, Richard. To be honest, I won't say that, because if you go to south of India or you go to north of India, so there's a particular nationality every state. But in Delhi, it has foreigners, it has Muslims, it has Hindus, it has Indians. I mean, all sort of nationalities at one place. So this is a beautiful place wherein everybody meets. So Delhi has no culture of its own, actually, no food of its own. So all the things are just a flux of everything. The famous street food in Delhi is very famous. If you go around and you come to Delhi next, do plan to meet me for sure. I'll just take you around and we'll have some street food, some cheap, good food which are very famous in Delhi, and some markets which are very famous in Delhi, and places, monuments are famous in Delhi. So Delhi has no mountains, no beaches, but yes, some basic markets and things are famous because it's more of commercialized. So natural beauty you will not find here, but if you want to see the commercialization, the great malls, you want to travel somewhere, you want to buy something good, then I think Delhi is the place. But yeah, you can't spend more than 2 or 3 days if you're coming for travel. So that is what I would like to suggest. Yeah.
Great. And would you have any tips for anybody learning Hindi? Because I think it's becoming more popular. People are starting to understand. I can go, instead of going to Italy on holiday, I can go to Goa and it's cheaper and it's it's a different culture and I can really learn something from that. So I think more people are starting to learn Hindi nowadays. Would you have any tips for anybody?
So come to India, I will teach you Hindi because Hindi is a beautiful language again. But yeah, just don't be in that misconception that you come to India so everybody speaks Hindi. No, majority of them speak Hindi. Yes, you can talk to a taxi driver, you can talk to a vendor on the street. Everybody can understand Hindi, but don't just think that India is equal to Hindi. So that equation is wrong. But yes, Hindi has again very many advantages because not only in India, if you go to other places, again you can leverage your Hindi studying, because in China, in Japan, now they have universities teaching Hindi also. So why are Chinese and Japanese still learning Hindi? There has to be some logic behind that, because India again is the land of opportunities. So yes, I think you should go ahead and learn Hindi. It's very easy, especially if you learn the colloquial part. So it's very easy. So namaste in Hindi is like
I know that word. That's great. I've already got some vocabulary. Okay, and then our last question, because we are going to go in a couple of minutes.
yeah.
What can people expect if they follow you? If they follow you on the Instagram, if they follow you on your YouTube, which everybody should definitely do, of course. What can they expect from you in the coming, days and weeks and months?
So Richard, my main aim are actually, the first one is that I want to create awareness about language and the career after languages. Okay, so not only one language, but I just want to be called a language girl, like I told you. So people should know that these are the career opportunities after learning this language. These are the states where we can go. These are the countries where we can go. So I want to make language a full-time career. So I want to create awareness. Second, I want to do the travel thing and go to different countries, make some videos. I had this plans for future, but as soon as these travel restrictions are over, my next point is that I'm gonna travel to countries and start my travel vlogs about culture, about different countries, about how things are, about languages, talking to so many people, starting my podcast, so many other things.
Where are you going to go?
Many countries, for example, Spain is one of them, one of the options. Yeah. So Japan, so China, Singapore. So I have a to-do list. I have a bucket list with me. But as soon as travel restrictions are over, I would love to go and make some vlogs, talk to people around, and so my aim is basically to promote languages and also to teach languages. So many people still find that the content for languages is way less. It's not available. So I'm going to start some new language learning classes as well, wherein I can teach Hindi, I can teach Chinese, I can teach Japanese on YouTube. So let's see how it goes. Yeah.
Great. Everybody, we're going to put the link for Mahima's Instagram handle, and then you can find her YouTube from that. You should definitely check it out, because actually we both made a video over the weekend where we talked about some great tips that people can use for really getting better in English, and some of those tips work for other languages as well. So definitely check that out, everybody. All right, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure. We got some great info from you and some great tips. And
yes, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
We'll definitely have you back on the show, okay?
Yeah, sure, Richard.
All right. Bye. Thanks very much. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.